What is up, everybody? Welcome back once again to Hot Toys Hotline. As always, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel and drop a like on this video. I would very much appreciate it. Well, as you can see, I have another 1/6 scale figure review for you today. This is the SooSoo Toys number 53, the Prince Rogers Nelson, or affectionately known by fans as Prince. This is in partnership with WinC. Let's take a quick look at the art box like we always do. Now, as you can see, guys, as I mentioned earlier, this is the Prince figure by SooSoo Toys in partnership with WinC, as you can see there in the top right corner. We have a beautiful kind of photoshopped image here of Prince on the front with all of the different lights and everything shining down on him. I think that's very cool as he's passionately playing his guitar there. As we move towards the bottom, it does say Prince Rogers Nelson, SooSoo Toys number 53, 1/6 scale collectible figure. The image just continues towards the bottom there. Moving around to the side, once again, the image continues, and then on the other side, it's going to be the same as well, as you could see. And then finally, moving it around to the back, of course, we have our world-famous warning font, as we always do on all of these figures. I'm sure you don't want to, but you guys can pause and read that if you want. And once again, we do have our partnership there on the back with WinC as well. So definitely a really nice looking art box. Really quickly, guys, I wanted to give you a quick peek at that insert as well, because I think the insert is quite good looking. Give me one moment. And then there is Prince standing on stage with all of the crowd cheering for him on this insert. Definitely really cool in my opinion. I love that kind of sunburst effect right there. But now, guys, as always, let's take the plastic clamshells out of the packaging and see how it arrives to you when it lands on your doorstep. And here we are with both clamshells with all of the items present inside. Now, I will say, as always, I do take the plastic off of everything so you may see everything in the box. So there was plastic on the head sculpt and on this guitar here, so keep in mind I did remove that. Underneath of here as well, there's some stage lights and some other parts to put together this really cool diorama. So definitely keep that in mind. Make sure you take everything out of the clamshells as always. But with that being said, let me take the figure and all of the accessories out of the packaging and we'll take a closer look at all of the details. Okay, now as you can see, I have all of the accessories pulled out of the box, laid out on the table in front of us. Now I will point out, these are the accessories here. These are all different parts of that really cool stage display base. Of course, I will put that together in this video so you guys can get a full look at it. But now let's grab each accessory individually and take a closer look. Do you hear that? Yes, guys, unfortunately, we do only have 4 extra hands, 2 pre-installed on the figure. You guys know my rule of thumb, I'd like to see 8 minimum. I will say though, however, on a musician figure, I do understand there being a limited amount of hands, but it would have been nice to have some like grasping hands. Let's say you find a third-party microphone or something, it would have been nice to see those included, because it's hard to find hands that match every different skin tone, because every company paints these hands differently, so definitely a bit unfortunate. However, I will say these are nicely painted and nicely sculpted. It may look a little bit flat on camera, because it kind of is. However, there is some depth to that skin, so it's not entirely flat. Something I did want to point out before I continue with these hands, the ones pre-installed on the figure, at first glance, it looks like they're pretty messed up from the factory. There's some serious paint rubbing on the back of the hand straight out of the box, so of course I'll show you that later in this video, guys, but just to be fully transparent, I might as well mention it in the hand segment of the video. If we flip this hand over right here, as you can see, this is what we will use to hold those guitar picks that are included in this set. Definitely really cool. And then this one right here, pretty obviously, if you're familiar with musicians at all, this is what you would use to kind of run along the fretboard of the guitar to play chords. I think that's really cool. Nice that they included that, but in my opinion, maybe they could have included some other hands playing some different chords and kind of mix it up a little bit. And then here you actually just have 2 fisted hands. Not really often people are going to use these in my opinion, but I think you can kind of make it work like he's holding his fist up in the air, kind of playing with the crowd, so definitely really cool. Not much else to say. Let's move on to the next accessory. Sorry I'm randomly inserting this in the hand portion of the video, guys, but I noticed this as I was posing this figure at the end of the video. I didn't notice this off the bat, but the fingers are actually glued together. I had to separate them, and as you can see, there's a kind of a glue spot there. Why they glued the fingers together to hold the pick, I don't know why. I will say though, let me grab the pick very quickly. Once you do separate the glue, you can stick that pick in there. However, it's really weird they decided to glue those fingers because now I have a glue spot in between my fingers. Not sure why that was done. I just wanted to point that out. I don't know if that's true on every single copy, but it is true on mine. Sorry for the interruption in the video. Next, we do have our included guitar picks. I will say it's nice that it comes with more than one because a lot of people are going to lose these. And sometimes it may not be your fault. It may fall out of the hand. I guess we'll find out later in this video if the hand can hold the pick nice enough. Again, as I mentioned earlier, he does include a hand to hold that pick. Getting closer, as you can see, we have that famous Prince logo on there with a purple colored guitar pick. Definitely really cool, a very basic accessory, but definitely very much needed for this figure. Next, moving on to one of the best accessories, of course, in this set. And this is one of Prince's many famous guitars here. Prince was always known to kind of go out of the box with his many different guitar designs. And this one is no slouch here, as you can see. We'll get a little bit closer so you can see that paint work. You can see on the fretboard there, all those different little Prince logos there. The paint job is actually really nicely done, as you can see. No sloppiness to the paint from what I could see. Of course, we do have real like nylon strings on here, looking really nice overall. Moving down to where the pickup is, again, really nicely painted. All of those gold details are really nicely done. And of course, we have that famous strap there that looks so awesome with the purple clothing that this figure is pictured with. Definitely going to look really nice on the figure. I will flip it around to the back so we can see what the back looks like again. Really no sloppiness at all to the paint here. And I do want to point out, guys, I did not mention it, this is a fabric strap here. It's not pleather or anything like that, so it's definitely going to last the test of time, I think. But this looks awesome, and again, I really love the contrast of this white and gold guitar with that purple coat that he's wearing with this outfit, so I can't wait to take a look at this with you guys later in the video. But let's move on. And finally, last but certainly not least, we have our stage display base here. This does require some assembly. I did show you guys all the different parts laid out earlier in the video. I will show you briefly how everything goes together. I'm not going to do a full tutorial because I feel like it's relatively simple and straightforward, but I will show you where everything pegs in. But as you can see, this is painted in a beautiful silver and purple there. Some nice little kind of airbrush hits of some shadowing here and there, as you can see. Really nicely done in person, guys. This is absolutely gorgeous. This is a separate piece. It just pegs in on the underside, and I'll show you how that pegs in momentarily. And then, of course, all of these different lights and everything, they do not light up. However, they do move, which is really cool. So you can move them that way, and then you can move the light itself, which is really nice. I know somebody's going to mod this and make all the lights light up, and it's going to look absolutely awesome. If you're somebody that can do that for me, I think that would be really cool to get done. I'm definitely electrically challenged, so I'm not going to try it myself. Let me flip it over really quick, guys, so I can show you. These two kind of stand pieces here just peg into corresponding holes. Very straightforward. As you can see, each one of these lights peg into holes as well. And then the stair portion here pegs in here and here. Just be careful not to scratch the paint as you're doing it. But again, very straightforward. This is an awesome display base, especially from a third-party company. It does come with a crotch grabber. I don't have it installed, but I will do that towards the end of this video. But now, guys, I'm not going to keep you waiting any longer. Let me grab our SooSoo Toys Prince figure, and let's see what we think of it. Okay, now here we are with the SooSoo Toys Prince. Now, as always, guys, I'm going to give you a quick 360 tour around the figure, just to get an idea on the tailoring, the proportions, and everything else on the figure. I want to say, guys, right off the bat, I think he looks awesome. I think the proportions are pretty solid. I love the look of this coat. As you can see as I'm turning it, that kind of glittery fabric that they use there is absolutely beautiful. And if you didn't know, the pants had that glittery fabric as well, and you can see they really, really shine on the camera there. It just looks absolutely awesome. Let's get a little bit closer up so we can get a better idea of what the clothing is looking like. I think they really did such an awesome job with the material choice here on this long coat that Prince is wearing. I think it looks absolutely beautiful in person, and I hope that's coming off on camera. Getting towards the shoulder there, you could see that signature kind of studded shoulder piece there. It looks great. It definitely feels nice and textured. Overall, they did an awesome job on this coat, guys. I really can't stress that enough. I want to open it up so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like on the inside in terms of the clothing underneath. We have these beautiful frills kind of sewn into the shirt there, and it looks really nice the way it's layered. Definitely a big fan of that. As we move down, you can see again, those pants are nice and sparkly. We have all the different buttons and everything running throughout. And we have some relatively kind of complicated frills towards the bottom here, and I think SooSoo did a pretty good job there as well. Now you might notice as I'm opening the coat here, it's kind of staying in its position, and that's because it is wired at the bottom. So as you can see, no matter where I bend it, it's going to hold its position, and that's always a huge plus. We love to see wiring, and SooSoo definitely did a good job there in my opinion. As I mentioned earlier, guys, I will show you the hands once we get a little bit closer on the figure. There is some damage on mine, and I definitely want to be transparent about that. The belt here, guys, you can put this through the loop and, of course, cinch it to his body. This is just how it came out of the package. That's why it's kind of hanging loose on me. I may change that later in the video towards the posing segment. Moving towards the bottom here, as you can see, the heeled boots here definitely are a bit soft in the texture. If we get a little closer, you could see that signature Prince logo on the zipper there, painted in gold. Again, painted very nicely. There's no sloppiness to the paint there. Definitely a bit soft in the details on those heeled boots there, but I could let that slide because the rest of the figure just looks that awesome. Of course, we have those signature frilled sleeves there looking absolutely fantastic. And as you can see, guys, as we get close up there, some really nasty defects there on the hands. I'll kind of pull that back so you can see it. I've never really seen defects like that before on any of these third-party figures. That's pretty bad. At the end of the day, it is paint. However, I'm definitely going to be reaching out to Giantoy where I purchased this from. I'm sure they'll take care of me and get some replacements. Definitely a bit unfortunate. And that is present on both sides. You can see there's some damage there on the knuckle. And then towards the back, we have that same kind of paint rubbing there. Not sure how that happened. Guessing maybe it got bumped around in shipment, or maybe it was put in the box too quickly. I don't know. I'm just theorizing at that point. Let me move it around to the back one more time so you guys can get an idea of how it looks from the back. I definitely really am a fan of the proportions. Prince was a very skinny man, definitely during this era especially, and I think overall it looks really good. If we pull the coat open there, you can see some really nice proportions overall. But let me not keep you guys waiting any longer. Let's take a look at this head sculpt. As you can see, in my opinion, I think SooSoo has done a pretty solid job at capturing Prince's likeness here. Overall, I think it's really nicely done. I think the complexion on the lips and on the skin tone is really nicely done. Obviously, we kind of have that black eyeshadow around the eyes. I think that looks awesome. Let me get even closer so we can get a close-up view of this head sculpt. As you can see, guys, I think the complexion is great. I think the skin tone is overall pretty close to Prince in my opinion, and I definitely think they've done a great job with that eyeshadow around his eyes. Of course, we're going to talk about the sculpted hair, guys. I think really with this type of hairstyle, they've done the best that they can. I think it looks pretty good in my opinion. As we get a rotation around here, you could see really how well they've done with that likeness. I think the jawline is there, the sideburns look good, and overall, I really think they've done the best that they can, especially with this hairstyle being so difficult to match with sculpted hair. This would be something that I think a lot of companies would consider doing in rooted hair, but either way, it's going to be very difficult. So I'm definitely a big fan of this head sculpt. I know it's not going to be for everybody, but in my opinion, I think it looks awesome. I hope that's coming off on camera. Now, let's quickly go through some articulation, guys. I'm not going to push my copy too hard. I don't want to mess up this coat, and with it being so bright and shiny, that may show if you leave some heavy creasing in it. I'm sure some of you guys are like, oh, get over it, just do it. It's my personal copy. I'm not going to go too crazy. Of course, with the head, very easy to rotate, no issues there. Just be very careful. I do feel that sculpted hair kind of rubbing against that collar. You don't want to rub that finish off of the collar, so be very careful with that. That happens with a lot of figures that have kind of longer sculpted hair in the back. In terms of the articulation at the shoulders, only the limitation that I could feel here is the coat kind of limiting it. I think you can get a full 90 very easily, as you could see. Just be very careful with your coat. You don't want to rip any of the stitching or anything. In terms of the forward, you can get it forward pretty easily. I really don't have any complaints about that. The elbow joints, it's really hard to tell how far you could push it. It does feel like it is single jointed, or it could be that the coat's kind of bunching up there. But for me, as I push it, I could push it even harder. It doesn't look like it's going any further. So I'll venture to say that is single jointed. Of course, you can butterfly that joint out pretty easily as well. In terms of the hands, you have full rotation. You do have that rocker ball joint on the inside like we always see. Abdominal crunch, very, very limited. Surprisingly, it kind of has no movement at all. And I'm really pushing on it, guys. So definitely unfortunate to see. There's really no movement there in the torso. Let's take a look at the waist articulation. Honestly, not as limited as I expected. As you can see, it's kind of limited by the pants. Again, I could push it a little bit more. I'm just worried about this material. I don't want to go too crazy because I don't own any figures quite like this in terms of the material and the clothing. So once again, I'm not going to push my personal copy too much. In terms of the knee articulation, you can get beyond 90 on this. These are definitely double jointed. Again, I'm not 100% positive in terms of the elbows, but for me, it feels like it's single jointed. I can't push it any further, and I'm really pushing on it. So, and then finally, moving down to the feet, guys, not as limited as I thought. Definitely decent in terms of the shoe design. I really don't have any complaints about that. I think that's pretty good overall. One thing I wanted to note before we move on to the final posing segment of the video, guys, you might have seen it in parts of the video. The glitter does come off. It's not like it's falling off constantly, but the glitter does come off a little bit. So be very careful when handling this figure because you might knock some of the glitter off of it. There's plenty to go around, so I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue, but now let's put Prince in a couple poses and I'll share my final thoughts and we'll close out this video. This one was a little rough, guys. I had a lot of QC issues on my personal copy. I showed you guys all of the issues with the hands. One of my legs was actually broken in the box. I did glue it back on. I realized a lot of this towards the end of the video. Also, I completely forgot to untuck that collar, so I apologize in the posing segment here that I did not do that. With that being said, this is a really cool figure. Overall, I think it looks awesome. The quality control just isn't there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time, and I'm out.